Welcome to OOO, an out of ordinary podcast where we dig deep into case studies and the nitty gritty of Web3 marketing. You'll find here all the amazing people that are building Web3, so stick to us as we address their marketing secrets and learn how to build amazing products and brands. Hello everyone, I'm Alex, your fellow Web3 marketer and the host on Out of Ordinary podcast. This is episode 40. If you have been following me on LinkedIn or Twitter, you know that I love to introduce you to new tools, resources, or anything you may find useful. So I think I'll start to do this more often on the pod as well. Please let me know in the comments of this episode if you would like that. Today, I want to introduce you to Dealfront. Now, we all know that getting through the decision makers can be a daunting experience. But picture this, a tool that doesn't only promise, but delivers. Imagine if your sales team and marketing team could target ideal fit leads and close deals all within a single platform. And maybe the best option you have right now is Dealfront. So what sets it apart? Its revenue engine is fueled by live European data in multiple languages, providing you with insights and access that other tools simply can't match. No more struggling to find the right decision makers. With Dealfront, it's as easy as few clicks. Now here's the magic. It's basically a revenue development engine that combines three stages: discover, qualify, convert, and harnesses them to automatically optimize your sales process through GDPR-compliant data. Don't worry about compliance, as Dealfront meets Europe's strict standards, which we all know is very important, ensuring GDPR compliance many competitors cannot match. Want to see if this can actually be a game changer for your leads and deals? Well, you can grab a free demo today at dealfront.com. That's DEALFRONT.com. I mean, don't miss on the future of successful deal making with Dealfront. And if you like it as well, please let me know. A link to the website for an easier search will be available in the description of this episode. Before I introduce you to my next speaker, which I'm sure you will love by the way, I also want to let you know that starting today, you can support the show both on Patreon and on Unisub with donations in fiat or crypto. I have been running this podcast by myself for almost a year, and I really appreciate you all helping it grow. If you want to help me bring more marketers and more founders on the pod and basically transform this podcast into your go-to resource when it comes to anything marketing related in Web3, you can find a link to both Patreon and Unisub in the description of this episode. Thank you so much in advance, by the way. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest. Oleksii Sidorov is the founder and CEO at Slise, a Web3 Native ad platform that helps projects acquire crypto-native users on dApps and uses their wallets instead of cookies. Slise team believes that on-chain data can be a rich and transparent foundation for the next generation of marketing and can solve the hardships with distribution Web3 projects have to fight. Oleksii, with his co-founders, have built an AI personalization solution before and went with it through Y Incubator, while originally he was pursuing an academic career in AI research at Meta and Oxford. Hi Oleksii, how are you?
Yeah, doing well. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for being with me. I'm so excited about this episode, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting for everybody that's listening to this Out of Ordinary podcast, and I think the conversation is going to be pretty out of ordinary. So let's dive into it.
Yeah, let's go deep into Web3 marketing.
Yes. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into Web3?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Oleksii. I'm a founder and CEO at Slise. For those who don't know, Slise is a Web3 native ad platform. So we help Web3 companies with acquiring crypto-native users. And actually, my journey to Web3 was quite entangled. I was working on Web2 startup before. So, and even before that, I was a researcher, doing AI research in like FANG in Facebook, and was working across different research labs, like in Oxford, doing very academic kind of stuff, not even thinking about Web3. But then over time, shifted more to startups, went through Y Combinator like a couple of years back. And, after we kind of stopped working on our last company, we saw a lot of opportunity and a lot of just kind of business interest in Web3 field. Because before we were in e-commerce, and e-commerce, as you may know, like it's super developed, super crowded. It's like kind of this red ocean. And we wanted to have more freedom, more room, like for our fantasies, for our ambition. And that's kind of what we found in Web3. So, and especially kind of this idea of like doing advertising in this new market, and as we all know, kind of advertising is a huge industry in Web2, and being just in the beginning of it in Web3 world is just super exciting. So I think that's kind of how we started working on it.
I'm pretty excited because I think I'm going to try to like dive into it like bit by bit. So let's start from the beginning. What are some promo options for Web3 companies or for Web2 companies getting into Web3?
With us or like generally for the market?
With you especially.
Yeah, I mean, with us, I have to mention both options just to explain, how we are different. But basically, what we do is we allow to reach crypto native users on the apps. So it's like, we basically believe that if you want to hunt for animals, you go to forest, not in the city. So unlike, many traditional tools which would allow you to do advertising on like Web2 websites or like media websites or like Twitter, it's also good, but it's not really kind of crypto audiences. So, we go deeper into the like actual application layers, different bridges, dexes, wallets, analytics tools, and we find our users, those kind of crypto native users who are actually actively using those dApps on these platforms. And yeah, the formats are quite traditional. So, it's still kind of display ads, so it's like different banners, animated banners. Some more formats are coming. But one very like different feature which we have is that we are also able to target these users by their on-chain activity. So instead of using like cookies, and their Web2 interests, like, oh, they like skiing or they have a dog, for Web3 companies, they don't really care about it that much, but they care about like, oh, do you have a wallet? How much assets do you have on, in this wallet? Do you trade those assets? What kind of tokens, do you have? What kind of NFTs do you have? So we provide access to all this data, and enable advertisers to leverage kind of power of on-chain data, and this all very, very kind of rich information about the user for finding the right audience for them on these apps and reaching their attention.
What led you to explore Web3 advertising, and what did you find lacking in native advertising that prompted this exploration?
In Web3 advertising, yeah, I think kind of this whole thesis around wallets replacing cookies, was quite interesting because you kind of see this big shift in Web2 marketing, right, where IDFAs go away, cookies get deprecated, and a lot of advertising platforms, they get in trouble because they don't know anything about the user in the end. And the quality of advertising gets worse, not only for advertisers, but also for end user, they just start seeing kind of this irrelevant rubbish. And, I think there's just interesting evolution happening right now, in the Web2 world. And we saw kind of this edge of Web3, having these wallets, having these decentralized identities, which can be used for marketing, is very interesting kind of direction. And we actually, we started from analytics. So we started Slise by analyzing all this data, see, how useful it is. It was quite useful. But then what we realized that, well, just mining insights is not really sufficient. You can have, this list of wallets with your ideal customer profiles, this ideal people you want to reach to. But back then, there were like not a single way how you could actually reach them, because the wallet address is just kind of a like string of digits and characters. But what do we do with it? So and the Slise started on this idea. Okay, let's actually make this on-chain data useful and actionable by allowing again reach these wallet owners. So it's kind of was quite new and it's still quite exciting because it's not something that we can see in Web2, and it's not something kind of which can change in Web2 very soon. But in Web3, we are here kind of on the step to this very big change in marketing, I believe.
Is this your biggest differentiator, let's say, between Web2 advertising platforms, that you can also track this kind of data from wallets, for example?
I would say yes, because in a lot of them, I don't know like any Web2 advertiser who would, ad platform who would have access to user wallet data or who would try to leverage on-chain data. So for us, it's this very native, very kind of high quality crypto audience in combination with access, and ability to leverage their on-chain data. So yeah, because the formats, they're not that different. If you just look at it, it looks similar to traditional ads. But on the back end, how it actually works and how it's powered, it's very, very different. Even in terms of like relationships with end user, it's much more transparent and private, because we don't try to track users. We don't, try to be creepy. We just say, hey, here's your on-chain data. Like it's public. Everyone have access to it. And we know who are which wallets it describes, but we don't really try to dig deeper. Like we don't try to get your identity or like your kind of physical identifiable information. Just say, hey, we know this wallet is interested to our advertisers. We'll just show ads to this wallet, and we not try to be kind of to violate their privacy. So it's also kind of very, very different there.
I think like privacy is a very important thing, and I think it's like still being discussed. And like sometimes I'm still really wondering if like the solutions that we have right now in Web3 are really protecting the identity of its users. I'm not 100% sure. Like I'm not 100% convinced it's always the case, but hopefully we're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there are like debates about like being fully transparent, on chain. Is it really private, or is it opposite? Like that everyone can see you. So, but the thing, there is, it's really clearly better than there's just one company which can know everything about you. So.
For sure, yeah. You are definitely not the only solution. Probably one of the very few, though. But I wanted to know, like, what helped you differentiate from your competitors, let's say, and what helped you stand out?
Yeah, sure. So again, the market is very, very early. It's a very young market where we hardly see, any competition. And in fact, like we are more like, we try to partner with other players more than compete with them, because the market is just too huge, to all of us to be fighting for. But I think we have a bit different strategies. There are players who would focus more on Twitter. Other players would focus more maybe on media. There are, of course, players who also try to focus on dApps and kind of Web3 native traffic. But there's also a lot of things which can differentiate us product-wise. And that's where I think we were very innovative around like data-driven approach. So one of our first features, and even when we were in very like early stage, it was a real-time analytics dashboard. So we are kind of very transparent on data, what we share with our advertisers, because again we don't want it to be a black box. Like when you do promotion with KOLs, it's like you pay for something and you expect maybe some results, and you have no numbers, you have no way to analyze it or predict anything. For us, we're like, we give you all the data we have. We also integrate with attribution partners to provide you, access to the whole funnel, like with conversions, with LTV, to run A/B tests, to do all the kind of very powerful, very good things which marketers are familiar with from Web2 world, which were not available in Web3 before. So we are very focused on bringing this familiar experience and this kind of power of targeted advertising, of programmatic advertising to Web3. And yeah, we started with analytics. We built these integrations. Now we also released our self-serving interface, where again, our clients can be very flexible about the target audiences, how they create their campaigns, their settings. They can play with it. They can create as many different campaigns as possible, as they want. They can test it. They can stop it. They can run again. We also very friendly to like smaller players, because because the market is so small and so young. A lot of advertisers, they don't have big budgets, so we also kind of try to be very welcoming on that end, with caveat that you still need to spend something to get some meaningful results. I always kind of say that I want to be like very transparent about it, that you shouldn't expect like spend $100 and get 100 whales back, and if you have such expectations, don't really come to us, because it will not help anyone, because now it's still kind of display ads. We try to improve our performance. We really focus on the performance, but there's still kind of fundamentals of like human psychology which we cannot change. You do need to have some experience. You do need to experiment with it to get some good results. But we try, to give you tools and to give flexibility to, achieve excellence. And this kind of thing what's quite different, for us versus other platforms.
I was also I was telling you that like right before this interview or this recording, I had another recording where I was a guest and we were talking about like brand awareness. That I think for like some of the clients that I've worked with before, that was one of the biggest drivers when it comes to how they got to basically succeed in the space. Like, of course, the product side of things was super important, but the fact that they pushed a lot into brand awareness, and here now I was not really talking about like PR necessarily. I was talking about like different stuff, community, content, I don't know, interviews, like you name it. And that's what built them into like what they became, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, no, even for us, just I can say that. Well, first, we do run some campaigns for ourselves on our networks. So I think it helps us a lot. But also, we also see good results from building, working not just on the performance part where we want to pay for a click or specific conversion, but like we also try to be active on the crypto events in different communities, podcasts like this one, but kind of sharing our insights, our experience. I personally write our company blog because we have things to say and we see things which other people may not know or may not see. It definitely helps us again because this whole crypto market is just so tiny, and especially at times like this when the market is down, it's even smaller. Only the most hardcore players are left, and it provides a lot of opportunity to actually build your brand and to build relationships with these users early. So when the good times come, you're already kind of in the good position to take it off. So yeah, I think like now it's probably the best time to work on your brand, and it's kind of also the cheapest it ever will be.
Probably. What is some data that you find to be relevant for Web3 founders and marketers to track when it comes to using a platform like Slise?
What kind of data? Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, general advice is like the more data you can get, the better. There is never too much data.
As long as you know how to read that, I'd
Yeah,
say.
it's also true, also true. But again, maybe you don't know now, but you will know later, or you will hire someone who will know. But having data is always good. Like, that's why we try to share, as much of it as possible. But then again, uh, we like to work with clients who, well, first have some experience, but who also kind of, very like non-BS, business-oriented people who say, okay, I know my LTV, I know what I generate from a customer, and from that value, I can derive my desired cost of acquisition. So again, looking kind of at the business metrics like your LTV, your CAC, then your cost per acquisition, like cost per click, cost per CTR rates, or cost per impression. It all should go into this one big formula. So basically, my point is that all these metrics separately, they are good, but it's always best to see the whole picture, because even if we can provide the cheapest CPM or like the best CTR, and the best cost of click, if the product doesn't know how to generate value from this user, that's kind of useless. That doesn't matter that much. So it actually, yeah, advertising is just one part of the equation, but for advertising to be successful, there need to be something after. And that's actually the problem which we see in crypto world now, where yes, again, the market is small, people don't have so much money, they kind of hesitant to spend, and that kind of makes the whole user acquisition pipeline harder, even though again attention didn't change. It's just that it's harder to capture the value from these users, and then hence projects willing to spend less on advertising. So as long as you have all these things in place together, then you can go deeper and optimize. Okay, the whole funnel, because you have impressions and you have click. Then from click you have conversion on your target action, then sign up or KYC or first purchase. And then you can go look deeper into each of these steps. But yeah, I always advise to look at the whole funnel first.
I also wanted to ask about the fact that like Web3 advertising in general involves significant spending, and I think a lot of people don't really want to talk about it. Everybody is just like, oh, we got into like X users in X amount of time, but nobody talks about budgets. And I'm pretty sure like you can't get like 2 million users in 100 days without like a big budget. So, what are some budgets you were looking at correlated to a return of investment?
Yeah, it's actually a great question, especially about correlation, because like the display ads is a numbers game, first and foremost. It's like you need to put a lot into it, especially if you start by building brand awareness and you want to have multiple touches with this user. It takes time, it takes some spend. I can just say that, for example, in Web2 world, there are like companies who only starts working with you if you have spent, like above $500,000 per month. And this it's considered normal. It's like it's not crazy. In Web3, of course, we don't have much of such numbers. But even for again advertising players in Web3 world, we see enough of kind of companies where basically they only start talking to you above like 10K per month in spend. And which again, for startups who have like 1K for the whole marketing budget, sounds a bit crazy. But yeah, and if you want to acquire users on scale, you have to be ready to spend money. For us, we want to be like welcoming, so we work with much smaller budgets as well, and again, we try to bring the best results even for such campaigns. But it is expensive, and primarily not because the ads itself or the whole industry like not optimized. It's more that like, I mean, what projects should understand is that the whole nature of this market is that it's still quite overheated, and a lot of companies are fighting for attention of very small pool of end users. And that's why because you have a lot of demand, you have limited supply, and the cost of attention, not even talking about acquisition, but like just even cost of attention of these users is going up. So and because it's also usually related to financial, say, services, right? Like investing or buying something, it's actually on par, with most expensive Web2 industries like financial services, investing, business, and topics like that, like or real estate. So because of that, I just can say that like, you shouldn't expect, cost of acquiring experienced crypto user who have assets they want to allocate in your protocol, to be similar, to acquiring like housewives on TikTok. It's like it's different audience. It's very expensive audience because it can generate value. So and companies kind of should keep that in mind. And again, it's here kind of we come back to the point where in order to make it work for them, they also need to learn and to be able to generate value and capture value of these users. Because if you fight on such expensive market, such high value users, and then you try to sell them like something cheap, or you don't know what to do with them, it kind of breaks the whole model.
I was about to ask if like Web3 users are more expensive than Web2 users, but from what I understand from you, yes.
Yeah, again, Web2 traffic can be also very expensive, and some segments can cost like, tens of thousands, just tens of dollars per CPM, like on Google and other, or even higher, like it can go in hundreds. So in crypto, it's not that high, it can be lower, but it's higher than like average Web2 user, without like specific expertise.
But I would also get it depends on the product, right? Maybe like the more financial it gets, the more expensive the user acquisition cost gets.
Yeah, and for sure. But again, the whole point is like crypto is mostly financial. It's like for now it's still very hard to find applications in crypto world which would not be financial.
Well, Slise is not really financial.
I mean,
Like I've also noticed that, for example, like Web3 platforms, like everything has like a payment gateway somewhere.
yeah,
But I think it's the same in Web2 as well. I've also noticed a lot of growth tools, for example, which are not really financial tools. There are, like, I agree with you, most of them are financial or like towards that, but
but even those kind of they are B2B tools, they expected to kind of capture value from projects or people kind of selling, doing something with other people. But even like entertainment stuff, NFTs are financial, even games, and mostly they're financial, and they're oriented kind of to have some economics and buy and sell dynamics there. But what's also kind of confirms this point is that for games for whom it's not really critical to have this maybe NFTs or to have some assets which users have to buy, they actually go and acquire users in Web2, because now if they're not required to for user to have MetaMask with assets they can spend, then there is no need to spend so high to acquiring such users. If you are okay with Web2 users and you don't expect them to spend much like crypto on your app, you will be actually better off going into Web2 and acquiring users there.
Are there any patterns or trends that you've noticed in Web3 advertising, and do they influence your product development in any way?
Trends.
For
The big
example, you see that a lot of companies are like looking into a specific number, or like maybe you've seen some trends and whatever that you find to be interesting for your users, and then you've developed your product in that specific way.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest trend we see is that a lot of trends are dying. So, I just remember that when we just started, there were so many different discussions and so different ideas about like, how Web3 advertising will be different, how we will use NFTs, then they can like rotate, or it can be in wallet, or it can be like gas fees, or it could be, some messaging. And what we see, over time, again, maybe because of the bear market or something else, but like a lot of these narratives go away, and actually only stuff which actually works and which actually like works in the business sense of it survives, and it's mostly traditional stuff. We still see a lot of focus in crypto on the like organic growth and organic traffic. Again, maybe partially because companies don't have so much money to invest in paid acquisition. But it's very interesting because it's actually like it's a actual driving force in crypto, and with different communities, in influencers, again, like the whole information sharing in crypto world is actually more efficient channel than it is in Web2. So yeah, I mean, we keep thinking about how we can leverage it, and how we can make our product, and to capture some of these benefits of organic distribution, of maybe some rewards for end user. For now, we haven't done much in this direction because again, it's not very clear. Because once you add, for example, rewards, right, it's an interesting way to bring audience. Not to say like for free. I mean, of course, you have to pay for it, but at least it's more organic, where some word of mouth is starting. You can build more PR. But once you introduce some incentive, it kind of skews in your whole messaging, and it then becomes like very vague. Okay, who are these users? What they came for? Like, did they came for my product, or did they came just for incentive? So it's like it's double-edged sword, where you want to build relationships with the end user, you want to provide them value, but as a business, you need to generate value yourself as well. So we are thinking about that, and there are interesting trends. But so far, I didn't see a kind of really like one trend which would like be a killer feature, which would like killer applications of specifically to crypto audiences.
Somebody recently called Web3 a startup, and I think it's pretty accurate. Also, like comparing it to like what you were saying right now, because I think yeah, you're right. But at the same time, maybe there will be some trends like moving forward. Like maybe people will have like more money to spend, then you can really see some patterns there. Let's say.
I thought you will say someone called Web3 a scam. I mean, people say it a lot. Yeah, and
Um, yeah, I think like they say crypto is scam. I don't know if they actually say Web3 is scam, but I can see a lot of people trying to like shy away from it, at least like during these times, because from what I can see, the sentiment is like pretty down in general.
yeah, sentiment is down, and again, even for myself, I think when I started, I was like more enthusiastic about crypto world because, and my motivation was built in partially in kind of all the smart people, whom I see coming to Web3, like from different, like from science, from research, from AI. They're doing kind of very cool things, very meaningful things. And now, it seems that a lot of these people get discouraged, and but the prevailing force kind of still remains kind of just speculation and like airdrop hunting, or just scamming people. So I think for sure for industry, like for this startup to evolve into a proper company, to get public company, these kind of scams they probably should go away. Yeah, because they won't be scaled with all this kind of narrative.
100%, and I think we'll see a lot more utility moving forward, which is something I'm very very excited about, to be honest.
Yeah, and actually we we receive payments for our advertising both in fiat and crypto. Crypto experience is so much better. And actually, we're just so happy to be working with crypto payments, just because it's nice experience. I don't want to pay Stripe if I can 3% commission when I can get just a transfer on Polygon for nothing basically.
But I mean, like, in my experience, at least, like, taking out money, at least like in this part of the world, like taking out crypto in fiat when you need it, it's also not the easiest experience. And sometimes I would prefer to be paid in fiat, just to get rid of all that hassle.
Yeah, but that's kind of another point of this. Okay, so because crypto part is good, but then how we connect the crypto to physical world, and because again, our company is a U.S. corporation, so we are super strict on the regulations, on all our financial transactions being very clear. We can make it work, and it works, but we should be in this point of time, we have to invest a lot into actually all this kind of logistics around moving crypto payments to our bank account, which I don't honestly want to spend so much time for. But the benefit of having crypto payments and being able to to transact so freely and so fast, it actually motivates us to keep doing it.
What are the primary objectives that companies are trying to achieve through Web3 advertising, and how does Slise help them meet these goals? Is it like user acquisition, like the main goal?
Mostly, so for especially for smaller companies, it's usually just very direct user acquisition. Very kind of clear funnel. I mean, for the good ones, it's very clear funnel where I want form sign up, or I want app download. And I send users to my landing page. And I can measure conversions. So it's kind of more performance oriented. Most of our campaigns are like that. For bigger companies, I would say they have more freedom, they have more budgets to spend on things like brand awareness, right? And we can run kind of wider campaigns with maybe less clear objectives. Most of it is still kind of performance based. I mean, it makes sense. And again, at this point of time where you do need performance, you want real users, and if you basically you pay for access to user attention, you want to use this attention for something which would provide you the most value, which probably would tell about your product, invite users to use this product, or incentivize them to use your product and get them over. So again, nothing really kind of fancy or weird there. I mean, we saw a couple of campaigns where traffic would go to Twitter or to Discord. I would say that those didn't work that well, so I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Something I actually wanted to ask, and it wasn't really in my list of questions, but it's just a curiosity that now that you said it, do you feel like there's a difference between the life of a user acquired in Web2 compared to Web3 through advertising?
Interesting question.
I don't know, or maybe it depends.
But I mean, my question would be are users really get acquired in Web2, for Web3 apps?
No, I mean Web2 for Web2.
Web2 for Web2.
Because everybody just wants, I'm asking this because everybody wants real users all the time, and they don't want scams and so on. So that's why I was wondering about the lifetime of a user in Web3.
I mean, the lifetime. I mean, in the whole point of Web3 is that the lifetime would be much higher, because it's financially oriented kind of field. People usually come here, ready to spend or ready to invest or ready to pay for something. They kind of used to experiences being kind of wallet gated, payment gated. So LTV of these users is much higher, because again, this kind of segment of people who have money in the first place.
Something you also mentioned to me that really drew my attention was the fact that VCs are heavily involved in Web3 advertising. Can you tell us why is that, and why do they invest in it?
VCs in Web3 advertising. We do see some activity, not that much as we would want to see, honestly, because a lot of this kind of services around advertising stack, from CRMs to attribution tools, and we kind of talk to all these people all the time, because we have to work together, and they are kind of also lovely people. But the difference of our tech and our kind of subfield from the general crypto is that we are more like actual services, right? So like it's not really I don't know, token project is just driven by some community, by some common ideas, which promises some returns, and want to, I don't know, bring some kind of social experience and community experience for consumers. We have less kind of this speculation element. We are more like, okay, it's B2B company. We provide real value. We work on kind of on in very long term kind of horizon. And crypto VCs, they don't like that. Crypto VCs, they like quick returns, and and they don't really mind like the underlying value, or what's going on, or where this kind of returns come from. But for us, actually, we've been having kind of better conversation and more understanding from more traditional VC, from Web2 world, because for them, of course, part of them lost belief in crypto and Web3 altogether. But for those who do have, still do have this belief, for them, it makes much more sense that, like, okay, you do something useful. If it grows, it's going to capture a lot of value, and they have kind of this time horizon where they can wait for these returns, and they don't expect you to 100x in 1 year. And I think it's kind of, I feel kind of that's the biggest difference between like mentality of traditional investors and crypto investors. And because of that, because a company like Slise, it's very hard to do like 100x in 1 year. For them, it kind of becomes less interesting conversation. So the investment activity which does happen in this sphere, it's more rare, I would say. But also, I would say this kind of the smartest investors who actually want to invest long term in the actual companies and not just in hype.
Something I also wanted to ask you was regarding the transitioning between like Web2 to Web3 advertising. Can you give some examples of the shifts company need to make in their advertising strategies?
Advertising strategies. I would say, it's not that different. My biggest point would be that it's not that different. People tend to think. Yes, there may be a bit more focus on the like value for the user, but you need to show value in Web2 as well. So it's like it doesn't go away. You may want to promise some rewards, kind of, or like long term, or maybe you can add the speculation element to it. But other than that, again, dependently on the project, right? If it's kind of some service or a consumer tool, you still want to share why users would want to use it, what's the value of this tool. If it's like pre-sale or purely investing opportunity, again, usually you cannot do it in Web2. So but in Web3 kind of is this kind of new area where you can actually launch a token, you can do your IDO with consumers. So that's kind of something which was not even existent in Web2, but now you can do it, and then you learn from scratch how to communicate it, how to interest people. So that's actually very interesting. And also another kind of big difference, which is not really commonly used yet, but I think it will play a bigger role, is that in Web3 you can build much more accurate attribution. Because if you know like which wallet you have shown your ads to, and then when transaction happens, which wallet actually made this transaction, and then another one, and then another one, you can actually build the whole LTV, the whole kind of journey of the user based on this wallet information, and you can analyze your marketing activity from the first impression, with like brand awareness ad to the whole lifetime value of the user. So I would say that in the future, I believe that Web3 marketing will be even more data-driven and transparent kind of than it is in Web2. So I would say like you would have to be prepared for that, and you would want to benefit from all this data available. But now, honestly, it's not that common. So now kind of it's still pretty traditional, and the best players the best experts from Web2 world, they still achieve the best results in Web3 world.
Mm-hmm. Something else I wanted to ask, and it's also very connected to the previous question. So hopefully, I'm not like kind of go in circles. Let's say was regarding the fact that like the Web2 users are pretty different from like Web3 users in terms of like what they want or like how they behave. And I was wondering if like advertising campaigns differ or like are influenced by this behaviors. Let's say in a way or that. Um, Wait, let me rephrase this. So these users are like very different, like Web2 to Web3.
Mhm.
The question was more like, how does this behavior influence the way advertising campaigns are being designed and executed?
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. Um, and I would say that like the whole website advertising is still not that developed, to show some meaningful difference, kind of, and to leverage all this difference in behavior of Web3 users. I mean, the most obvious stuff is like, yeah, because users usually kind of very close to their, like the MetaMask is right there, in their browser, and they quite fast on decision or like investment decision. You can be kind of more aggressive with the campaigns. So like you can say, I mean, of course, like there are some limitations with like language you can use. You don't say like specifically buy this, but once a user already on your platform, you can kind of drive them through the funnel faster, right? From one hand, on the one hand, if you want kind of them to do some action, so you can actually be more aggressive. On the other hand, if you want to build more kind of deeper relationships with this user, then you can also start. You may start adding kind of some community component to it, or like bring them on your Discord or your Twitter. Try to kind of reactivate them, which again change the funnel. But yeah, this year kind of it's mostly kind of this middle of the funnel, where top of the funnel, like how you capture user attention, in the wild and bring them to your platform, or like even to hear about you for the first time, it's pretty similar.
Okay. Something else I wanted to ask was regarding like analytics, because they fall into like the Web3 stack or like the Web3 how do you call that? The job description of a Web3 marketer, let's say, understanding this data. Could you maybe explain the role of this analytics in Web3 advertising and how does it contribute to the overall strategy? Like maybe like let's do a comparison. Like, is it more important? Is it as important in what you do in Web 2? From my
Mhm.
understanding, from your high, I get a pretty good idea, but I wanted to see if there's anything else to be added on the subject.
Yeah. So for Web3 marketing stack, also I would say that there is a lot of opportunity and a lot of kind of space to grow still. A lot of the stuff that's been discussed now is not actually been applied. So it's caveat kind of we should keep in mind. But the future of it is quite bright. So we see the kind of these different tools which allow you to build your intelligence, and to segment your audience, and to basically kind of with Web3 CRMs, which help you to analyze your audience, analyze your holders, find similar communities, find lookalike audiences, just to know whom you want to reach. As it's kind of usually, one type of solutions. And then, of course, once you have this intelligence you want to apply it, you want to find these users. So there's kind of distribution layers like Slise, where you can actually find these users. But then also you want to analyze this data and like to track what happens to after this user clicked on your ad or been acquired. So again, the whole range of attribution providers who allow you to I mean, of course, people still use Google Analytics and like GTM and all the stuff and UTM tags, and they're still actually quite effective. And so don't get me wrong. Um, so, but you necessarily have to use it. And if you also want to add something on top of it, you would also want to analyze on-chain activity. So you get to integrate this kind of Web3 native attribution tools, which combine Web2 and Web3 data. Maybe give you a more like bigger picture. Yeah, also maybe for customers, sorry, for listeners who like my mind is also about customers, but like yeah, for listeners who don't very familiar with this, I can even name a few. So for example, on attribution side, we work with Spindle, Safari, Cookie3. I think these are good players. Now Helica is on the gaming side also very successful. On the CRM side, you have Addressable, you have Absolute Labs, you have Cosm, you have Bella, also excellent solutions, but all of these things, they only work together, so they don't work on its own, right? So I mean, it's not just enough to do one thing. You have to bring it back into the whole funnel. So that's kind of again where we have to partner with them and have to work together with them to maximize the value for all of us.
For sure. Is A/B testing still a thing also in Web3?
I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think however they don't do like proper A/B testing, they just they can just as well put their money like in the trash bin, like, because it will be maybe more efficient way. Yeah, I mean, A/B testing is super critical. You never know what actually will work, and we see it across campaigns, across, we basically we require users to upload multiple banners. So, you don't even start with one. You have to have multiple versions. And then, of course, as the campaign progress, you can change them, towards what actually works better. And yeah, that's kind of where power of this data comes in, because if you do like, maybe one-time promotion with KOL, like you don't have to control it, you just kind of do it once and you hope for the best. Here you can actually change it, you have this power, and that's the best part about programmatic ads.
One of the last questions that I want to ask you is if you can give us an example of a campaign that you think has been successful using Slise, and maybe some metrics, tactics, or anything else that you think would be useful to give as an example.
Yeah, let me think about it. And also I've been careful about not sharing too sensitive
You don't need
info.
to say names if you don't want to, but
Yeah, but I would say that we are able to kind of generate, like consistently, we are able to generate quite low cost of click. So, something on par with Web2 sources, like something maybe like between $1 and $2, which again, for financial tools, protocols who can, capture like thousands of dollars from a single user is a very good price. Where we see just good traction and where we saw good results. I like now this segment of, again, using crypto in the real world. So like, kind of tools which allow you to spend, if you have crypto, that allow you kind of to spend crypto and to buy some physical goods. We saw quite good results there with such players, because it's very simple, it's very straightforward. You don't need to educate users, just like say, hey, you have crypto, we allow you to buy X. Then you just bring them straight onto this kind of page, and they can do their action. And then they also, if they like it, if they like the experience, they become your kind of stable customer, and bring more revenue. So these things kind of work quite well. It's much harder, of course, to attract users for something very complex, in very advanced DeFi kind of applications, or like trading instruments. It's still kind of the best way to do it, because imagine doing it in Web2 is like it's just so long way you have to go to from random users to educate them like what is, I don't know, perpetual kind of trading on specific chain. So again, it's more expensive, but I would say that results are also quite good for such protocols, because in comparison it's just hard, like it would be even harder, even worse kind of on other channels. So I would say, yeah, as long as protocol knows their audience, and knows how to work with them, and not just kind of throw them into like void, now you're on your own, this is our product, it's your problem now. Yeah, if they kind of know how to treat their user and go through the whole journey, it's usually quite good. And of course, campaigns with brands with strong brand names, and we've been working with few. Actually, they're live now, and it's not secret. Like we work with MetaMask, we work with PayPal, even though like they don't do anything super fancy. If you look at their ads, just because people know them, people trust the brand, it helps them to have like above their average performance.
Now that we're getting close to the end of this episode, I want to ask you, what are some tools or resources that you are using? So tools that you're using for a company, or like resources that you think, like educational resources in general, that you think would be very useful for the audience. You also mentioned your blog, and I wanted to see if there's anything else that you want to put on this list.
Good question. Let me think about it. So yeah, I mean, we have our blog, it's on our landing page. So like, if you go to slise.xyz, you will see it. Apart from that, I do read a couple of newsletters. I'm part of Safari community, so also a big shout out to them. I think they're very good at what they are doing. Actually, just recently, there was a session on paid user acquisition. Also was good for me to learn, like what else people use. What results do they see. So Safari is a good community for learning more about Web3 marketing. Events help me actually because when you go to there's not so many. So if you're specifically interested in Web3 marketing, you can find this very small segment of Web3 marketing events, and if you go them, most of the people will be very relevant. Like usually will be founders of different tools or people who build something in the space. So that's very interesting place to learn stuff. So, but apart from that, yeah, you don't have much of like wikis or established resources for that, but just reading, being involved in communities, and I'm part of a few of them, and listening for podcasts like this one. Yeah, and usually this stuff helps me to stay up to date, and yeah, keep in touch with what's going on in this market.
For sure. Before we wrap this up, like, where can people find you?
So for me personally, I'm both everywhere, of course, on Twitter, on Telegram. Probably the best way to contact us would be through the form on the website. So slise.xyz, we have contact form there. From there, we are we're very chill about it. We will take it to Telegram and we can continue conversations there. And actually, in fact, what's probably the biggest difference of Web3 marketing, Web3 advertising from Web2 is that almost like 98% of our customer conversations, they are happening on Telegram. So that's a very specific feature. So yeah, but I'm happy to connect there, or Twitter, Telegram, website form, LinkedIn as well. So yeah, happy to chat and to answer any questions.
I'll leave your information in the show notes. Thank you so much for taking the time and explaining us a bit more about Web3 advertising. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again, maybe in a different episode when the bull run starts, and compare data and compare patterns and trends and see.
I hope I will be too busy now with actual work and advertising.
Well, hopefully for both of us. Well, thanks again, and chat soon.
Yeah, it was very fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to our Out of Ordinary podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to hear more content like this, then open up the podcast app and click on the follow or subscribe button. It takes less than 5 seconds and is the single best thing you can do to support the show and stay up to date to more marketing strategies that are being used in the Web3 space.